Yo, what's happening everybody? King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go Bat League video. Today I'm going to be showcasing some of the meta in the Catch Cup. This is quite a difficult video to do, because I think you can simulate this all in PvPoke, and it'll give you a list of Pokemon. However, I think what people are going to use and what is meta is just a completely different story. What I've done here is went into PvPoke, I went into rankings, custom rankings, and here you can make exclusions and inclusions for different Pokemon, species, tags, so on. Of course, Catch Cup we have no mythicals. We haven't had any Ultra Beasts this season, and no Megas of course. Now I've excluded Registeel, both Shadow and Normal. Sableye Shadow, I've actually excluded the move Return, so that we can have Sableye, but we don't have Purified Sableye, which may affect maybe like Wobbuffet or a few other Pokemon, but I think that's pretty inconsequential. We have both the Regirocks, Deoxys Defense, which is quite a big one, no Buzzwole, no Cofagrigus, Runerigus. There may have been a research this season, correct me if I'm wrong on that, let me know in the comments. Of course no Mew, no Guzzlord, and I've thrown in a few shadows here, Latios, Zapdos and so on. So I've made a somewhat interesting list here, and we'll see what it basically throws up for us. Of course, Galarian Stunfisk, number 1 ranked 100 score in PvPoke. I don't think this is actually going to be the case. Because of course it's showing here that we have Charizard, Carbink, which I guess will be very good for Carbink, but however I just don't think that's going to be the case, because I think we'll see Poliwrath and Greninja absolutely everywhere. It's bringing up Togedemaru here, which could be quite an interesting pick in fact, because we do have a couple of Pokemon that were buffed during community days, Greninja, Poliwrath, so maybe that has some merit. However, I just don't think we're going to see any Togedemarus either. Pelipper could be quite an interesting one for this cup. Of course we've got Shadow Swampert, Minicham, which was spawning quite a lot this season, Shadow Quagsire, Sneasler, which is quite an interesting one which I want to have a look at as well. We will of course start seeing people using Carbink because of GoFest and the ability to get XL Candy for that Pokemon. I think Carbink is going to be just an absolute anchor in this cup, in terms of it's going to sink you to the bottom of the ocean. I don't think you use Carbink here because, like I said, we've got all the Quagsire Swamperts, we've got Poliwrath, we've got Greninjas everywhere. I just don't think that's going to be a good option. Of course we had Scrafty spawns, Medichams were spawning for the Go Battle League event. We've got the Swamperts here of course, and Charizard, Golbat Shadow. I would be pretty surprised to see either of these two, but you never know. I think Golbat Shadow could be a possibility. Alolan Sandslash, which is a Pokemon I actually rebuilt this season myself, definitely could make an appearance, but again, I think it's a tricky Pokemon to run with all of the buffed water types, and of course, if you think back to the community days this season, we've had Haxorus, Blastoise, Poliwrath, and most recently Greninja. So I just think this might be a little bit tricky to run, but of course it will do quite decently against Carbink. Whiscash, again, not really expecting to see it, but you're getting a sort of idea here that this is pretty much the Great League without a lot of those sort of bigger hitters. And really interesting pick here I think for this couple will be Cresselia. This Pokemon is only obtainable through trading, but if you think about what the coverage is, that's pretty insane, right? You're going to see Swamperts, Poliwraths, Quagsires, Scrafties. I think Cresselia could be huge in this cup if you have one traded, and it's probably a Pokemon I'm going to look to use. I don't expect to see too many Lucarios, but this thing is just the Wild West. You probably will actually see Lucario, because there was, I think, a spawning or an egg event, right? So I think you will actually see Lucarios potentially. I don't really expect, you could see Dragalge, it's possible. But yeah, we're starting to get into some interesting territory. Double here is a Pokemon I expect to see everywhere. Of course, everybody's looking the opportunity to bust out Wooloo. And of course, we had a Machamp event quite recently as well. Of course, Machop spawning in the wild. So that is possible that you see these two Pokemon quite a lot. I think we definitely see a ton of Double. I think we will see some Haxorus, of course, and a Greninja. Dragonair Shadow. I believe Dragonair Shadow was available at the beginning of the season, before they swapped it out to Garchomp, so I think that is possible as well. And then I think we're getting into some sort of muddy waters here. Like I said, we'll see maybe the occasional Charm Granbull, the odd, purified or of course TM'd off Frustration Shadow Pokemon here like Luxray. But I think, this top sort of part of the list, I think that's giving you a pretty good indication. Something I'd like to mention here would be Ghost types could be quite an interesting one for this cup, especially Jellicent, because I think it's going to be able to hit the Medichams, of course. It'll hit the Lucarios if people are running those, and all of the Steel types don't really enjoy this thing with Carbink. It's definitely beatable with Jellicent. This is just in the one shield scenario. I presume if you put that into the 2s or something, you definitely just outpace it. But I think Jellicent could be a really strong pick for sure. This is with just basic IVs as well. So you do just about win the 2s here. That just speaks to the bulk and the annoyingness of Carbink, I suppose. And, you know, through research and so on, people have got Trevenant. So if you've traded a Trevenant, it could be quite an interesting one. Because again, it beats Carbink, Medicham, Lantern. Which I do think you will start seeing a decent amount. If people are trying to get Legend, they will not hesitate to build things. You know, it'll hit the Poliwrath, it'll hit... You can throw super effective Seed Bombs against the Greninja as well. So I think that might be worth considering as well. I hit Legend last season in Catch Cup. I built my first ever rank 1 Medicham in that cup. I built a really high rank Diggersby. So by using those pretty OP Pokemon, I actually built myself another Stunfisk, which I'm going to use for Ultra League. So that can be a possibility. If you have Pokemon that you're looking to maybe use for Ultra League, let's say if you have a Hundo Stunfisk sitting there, you could potentially build it for this cup, and then of course power it up later on. I think that's a very good option. Or things like a Alolan Sandslash if you want to use that, if you want to build it for Ultra League eventually. You know, it could be something that you build up over time. Use a pretty, you know, less optimal IV Pokemon for the Catch Cup and then build it up later on, just so you're not really burning dust on things. Now, in my experience last season, a lot of people did build just basically the basic bitch meta, right? So they built Lanterns and Noctiles. I would definitely expect to see that, and I think Lantern is going to be a very strong pick here. Just because of, like I said, the water types we've seen this season. You're going to see probably some Bastiodon spawns, or Bastiodons that were spawning quite recently in the cup as well. If people do start using Charizard, which of course has been spawning basically all season, right? You could see some Charizards, people maybe building up their first Charizard with the double TM here. That is possible, or of course Shadow is definitely a possibility. I do think it'll be rare, but I think Lantern's main role in this could be taking out the likes of definitely the Community Day Pokemon. I think some really strong picks for this cup, and I'm not actually seeing it here, but I think Azumarill here will be a very strong pick for this cup. Here's the reason why. Super bulky, of course, and it was spawning pretty much all season. So for those of you who haven't built an Azumarill, and are maybe looking to build it, I think it could be quite a good option because, of course, it does well against Medicham, which was spawning a lot. With Hydro Pump, you can look to take out Bastiodon. I would most likely run this with Poliwrath and Hydro Pump, because of course you hit Carbings, Medichams, you just basically hit the entire meta, or what I perceive to be the meta. If people are running Stunfisk, you'll hit that. You'll be able to hit the Poliwrath. You'll be able to hit pretty much everything. I think that's going to be a very strong pick. I think if you do have a traded Cresselia, that could be quite strong, and probably a little bit toxic. So I think that's definitely, if you're trying to hit Legend, you know, that's the kind of stuff you have to do, right? I think any sort of Charmers will be quite decent, because of course we've had a Dragon type, a Fighting type, and a Dark type as a Community Day. So Add to Charm is looking pretty spicy. I actually built myself an Alolan Ninetales this season. My prior one, which I built for a video, was pretty bad IVs, and is pretty much ready for the bin. I did make a new one, so I may use that at some point. But generally these two, I think, will be quite strong. Now, a couple of ones that we haven't looked at is things like Whimsicott. Whimsicott could be quite a good one. Resists counters and, of course, can hit Carbink for super effective damage. Can hit Medichams. Can hit Bastiodons. Could be quite a safe Pokemon. And I think, actually, Lurantis could be quite a fun one as well. Because, again, it just gives you that sort of coverage. You've got the Superpower Leaf Blade. You're hitting all of the waters and sort of ground types that will be there. You're hitting Togedemaru, because that's, of course, going to be everywhere. And even this matchup against Pelipper here is quite strong, because the Leaf Blades really add up on that thing. It could be a possibility to run it with its new move, because you're going to be using the grass coverage that it's got. I generally do prefer Fury Cutter because of the energy generation, but in fact, like, you get to these in 9 turns. It'll be 10 turns for this if you use Leafage. So that's something to take into consideration. And of course we had a Lurantis event this season. So I think if you're trying to plan for this cup, the best thing you can do is have a look, and if you go into your own inventory, age 0 to, I believe, like, let's say for all intents and purposes 83. I think it's also a good idea to think about which Pokemon were buffed this season. So you're going to have Quagsire, which I expect to be pretty much everywhere as well. Things like Clefable, of course Core Breaking, being a Fairy type, Core Breaking, the Medicham, Scrafty, and all of the Community Day Pokemon. Clefable could be very strong, in fact. Verdilly is going to be there for sure. Maybe even things like a Mulga. But of course, some of these Pokemon are going to get wrecked by Carbink. So just try to take everything into consideration. Have a look to see what people are using for the first day or two, and you can look to adjust and try to come up with core breakers for those teams. Hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm going to start making these types of videos, just like best team videos for each upcoming league. I feel like I've experienced a lot of the leagues enough now at this point to have created some of my own teams, and of course, in all of these great best team videos, you always do see people who, of course, get inspiration from Twitter and streamers and so on. So I think I would like to make those type of videos in the future. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hit that like button, subscribe. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be doing some streams on YouTube this week, so do put on notifications and join our Discord, where you will be notified whenever I go live. And of course, our Discord is just a very fun community. Feel free to join. Thank you, everybody. Catch you all next time.